Hello, everyone. It is Rory here at that Eurovision site, and today I am joined by the lovely.
Jazzy, hi.
Hello. Yeah, we are back again, and we are looking at another national final that has taken place, and this time around we are going to be looking at Vidbir. So, Ukraine's Eurovision selection took place on the 3rd of February. Some would say also the 4th of February as well, just for good measure, I guess. But
I
sometimes,
mean, that's why I'm here.
yeah, we didn't really know how that was gonna go, but so be it. Yes, so 11 artists decided to take to the stage, and the one who came out on top was Alyona and Jerry Heil with Teresa and Maria. They won with a massive televote win. So there's definitely no doubt that the Ukrainian public really wanted them to go. And they also really ranked very highly with the jury as well. So pretty much there was almost unanimous sort of decision to like let's send them to Malmö. So I mean, I live tweeted the first part of the show, and then Jazzy then live tweeted the second part of the show. So how was it sort of as a collective, I guess would you say?
Obviously, I watched both parts, so and I think I'm the only person on our site that did. And it was a bit chaotic, I can't lie. The whole voting drama with the Dia app going down. It was chaotic, but I actually felt it was really, really well hosted and really well organized until they had the technical hitch, which obviously they can't plan for. So this is no like slight on Susplin at all. Like technical issues do happen. There were technical issues in Norway on the same night, which meant Norway ran over. But obviously, it wasn't to the same scale. And yeah, it just felt that whole night was chaotic because obviously we had technical issues in like three national finals that night. So, and they were all to do with voting apps.
I
So
mean,
maybe
maybe.
technology is the root of all evil. Like maybe it actually is. And but
I
I
think
thought the
you're not
show was
wrong.
really maybe the show itself was really well organized. Like, they obviously had the English commentary, which I don't know if I was a fan of. Like it felt like, and this is just a me issue. It felt like a bit of a sensory overload. Listening
Mm.
to the English commentary and the presenters on TV in Ukrainian because the mixing wasn't great, so it felt like a little bit of a sensory overload to me in that first show. So I did prefer it in the second show when they did not have the English commentary, although it might not have been as easy to follow, but they obviously had the board points up there, so it was still fairly easy to follow. So yeah,
Yeah.
really well organized show until the technical hitch, and a really good quality songs, and they had some really good interval acts as well. So I really enjoyed the show, despite the technical hiccup.
Yeah, the technical glitches were not particularly something that we sort of knew were coming, to be honest. So, and for those of you who didn't watch on the night, they explained beforehand that the actual sort of show part of the show was recorded the day before, so that there wouldn't be any potential sort of disruptions from, say, Russian missiles or anything like that. So, understandably they were doing it as a way to sort of keep the show flowing in a good way, but then also it didn't factor in the possibility that Dia would then go down. So, there was a bit of over sort of uh trying to keep people interested and like just having random conversations with like random interviews with the acts afterwards as they were trying to like give people more time to vote, but then that then caused it to overrun by nearly over an hour. And I mean, look, it wouldn't be Vidbir without some kind of chaos. Like there, every single year, there always needs to be some kind of chaos, and this just so happened to be it this year. But like, I have to agree with Jazzy here. I mean, like, I really liked a lot of the songs. I think once again, it was really strong in terms of like the song quality. I really liked the hosts. We had Timur back. We had Julia Sanina back. we did also have a Ukrainian comedian whose name does escape me, but he seemed quite funny, like in the way that that was done. And yeah, I do understand what you meant in terms of the kind of English commentary kind of speaking over, because like you're trying to understand what's going on, but then obviously like you're having someone translate it for you, but then their delivery was a little bit kind of deadpan and quite like kind of samey. So it was quite like, oh, okay, what's going on here? Um, so yeah, it was something that I was a bit like, it was fine because obviously I was live tweeting, so it kind of made my job a little bit easier. So like then if I was doing what you did and doing the second part, then that would have been a lot harder for me because I just would have no clue what's going on. Much like how we are when the rest of the Europe when like the rest of Europe basically just decides to offer the national final, but then offers no English commentary. So we just have to kind of make it up as we go along, you know. Um,
Festival de Cantiao, not calling anyone out.
oh well, yeah, that might be a bit
But
bad.
at least you can speak Portuguese, so
I can
like
speak Portuguese, so I can be the on-hand translator if needs be, so it should be okay. Um, but yeah, no, I think yeah, it was a really well-produced show. I mean, it moved out from the Kyiv metro station, and it was in another location. We didn't really find out where it was, but you know, it looked quite good. You know, even though it was a small stage, and like they still managed to do quite well in terms for production quality with the LEDs and things like that, you know, and the fact that Ukraine is still able to do this in the midst of a war is just beyond admirable. So, you know, it's fantastic. But I guess we should also really talk about the winning song. So obviously Teresa Maria won. Was that your favorite? You know, how where did it fall for you? You know, how did you feel the like performance went?
I'm kind of in the objective mode here. Melvin's Dreamer was my favorite just because that song is more to my taste. However, I really like Teresa and Maria, and I do actually think it was the best choice for Eurovision because genuinely, at the time of recording, out of all the songs we've heard, I think this is the one that gives me the most winner vibes at the moment. I'm not sure if it is a winner, but it gives me the most vibes of a winner at the moment. And yeah, I do really like it. The performance is really powerful. I feel like it's meant to be really empowering as like being a woman in Ukraine, and I feel like yeah, I feel like this is going to resonate with people, although it's in Ukrainian. You can tell how powerful it is. I think alyona, and Jerry Heil are amazing performers. They really capture the emotion of the song really, really well, and I can absolutely see why this won. Like, and it's going to do really, really well in Malmo. So yeah, I'm really, really excited for this song, and it's definitely one that's been on repeat since it was selected, and since the Vidbir songs were revealed, really, because I do genuinely think this is probably for me the strongest national selection of the year, like for my personal taste. So
Wow, that's saying something because you know, like you've got like really high standards for like, you know, like we need to like it's really good, and that's like so that means if this is one of the strongest selections, that means that that's saying something, you know. Yeah, I guess I'm the same. Like I love like this was my favorite going into Vidbir. So I was absolutely thrilled when I found out that everyone else was vibing with it. And when well, it was my birthday when the actual results came out. So I was not there for the actual results, but when I saw the breakdown and saw that like they had like over 600,000 votes over second place, that is when I just knew that okay, this is what people wanted. And yeah, I have to say, currently as things stand right now, just as when we're recording this, this is my favorite song that's been selected so far. I really want this to do well. I really want this to go on to win. And the thing is that like how you said, like it has a really positive message. It's talking about, you know, like being a woman in Ukraine and like having this sort of religious idea in the same way, but it's not like being preachy. They're just mentioning religious figures that are like iconic women figures in religion, like Mother Teresa and the Virgin Mary. So it's really interesting, and I'm really happy that like you know they're going for something like this again. We've seen like Ukraine has really started to hone in on this sort of blending of traditional elements with modern sounds. You know, like we've seen it with Shum, we saw it with Kalush. It was more just sort of traditional pop when we got with Tvorchi, but in the same way, you could tell it was Ukrainian. It's the same thing with this. Like you can definitely tell that this is a Ukrainian Eurovision song. Like it can stand on its own 2 feet and say like, okay, this is Ukraine, you know. So I'm really happy with it. I just hope that they'll have a few more ideas and maybe fix out some of the problems that they had with the sort of sound mixing, because I think they had some problems with the in-ears. But to be honest, if you didn't know that, if you didn't see them like kind of fiddle around with it every now and again, you wouldn't have been able to tell. So I think that was fantastic, you know. Um, but yeah, like you also touched on this as well, saying that you know, Melvin was your favorite. I mean, what did you make of some of the other songs that were sort of in the selection, you know, in terms for the performances, you know, and overall, do you think like this was still like a good show for the songs?
Yeah, yeah, I really, really did. I think there was only like one song I didn't like that much, and obviously I'm not going to mention that song because I don't feel you need to do that. But all the others I really, really enjoyed. Like I enjoyed Slavic English. I thought like I know a lot of people really didn't like that song, but I found the staging really funny and charming, and I enjoyed that. I enjoy stuff like that. I know so it's not for everyone. I really enjoyed Ziffer song. Now, a lot of people were shocked that came second, but I actually thought it was quite a moving performance, and the song itself is sung in such a unique way that it was always going to stand out. And I'm not surprised it came second. The only thing that I think confused a few people was that they got quite a lot of negative feedback after their performance, and then the jury ranked them first. I wasn't quite sure what was going on there, but still really enjoyed the song. I didn't get the negative feedback, to be fair. I thought it was fine that he didn't move around too much on the stage. I really like Nebaher's Glass as well. I thought it was really unique and very different to anything else in the contest. I know some people found it a little bit shouty, but I really enjoy it, and it's still a song that I listen to pretty much every day. So yeah, really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed Souvenir as well. I thought there was a point where they performed where I thought, could this win the national selections? I did feel maybe that was the strongest stage show out of all the songs. And then obviously Melvin for me. For Dreamer, I think the reason I like Dreamer, and I don't know if this is a criticism or not, but it felt more mellow, more Melody Grand Prix than it did Vidbir. And I don't know if he was like honing in on maybe appealing to the Swedish audience more than appealing to the Ukrainian audience, like if he went to Eurovision, like with the song and with the staging. But yeah, I'm not quite sure if it worked in Vidbir because obviously he's appealing to a different audience, and I feel it came through in Vidbir that he wasn't really appealing to the Ukrainian audience, but more the wider audience, and often that just doesn't work for you in national finals, and it didn't work for him. So yeah, I feel like although I really like the song, I know the performance wasn't something that would probably appeal to the Ukrainian audience, so that's fine. At least it'll probably be played in Euroclub a million times.
You're not wrong, definitely. I can hear it already, just like banging on, just going
Yeah,
at like 2 a.m. You know, just like going like, oh,
yeah,
you know, it works. It works. Why not? Uh, but yeah, like I definitely see what you mean. Like it felt like it was very geared towards a European audience, sort of running before you could walk, really, because obviously you have to win the support of the home
yeah.
crowd first before you go, you know?
Like it was very geared to a Swedish audience as well, obviously where it's being hosted, which
Yeah,
I thought that's running before you can walk.
that's it. Yeah. And not to mention as well, I mean, like Melvin did have some problems as well, like a fashion wardrobe malfunction, basically, as he was trying to get his coat off. But then you could tell he was like struggling as he was trying to sing it. And that in itself, it just kind of makes it a little bit more like, you know, like watching in like horror as you're trying to figure it out. Um, but like you are right though. I think like a lot of the songs were really strong. Like how you said, like Nahaba was really good for me. I really did like that song. Again, it just was something that was so stand out. Like you wouldn't find that in another selection other than Vidbir. And that's something that I absolutely love. Also really love Tsunami. I mean, again, if you liked the things like Go A and things like that, you would of course love that style of singing, that kind of choral white voice esque kind of sort of singing. It was just perfect, you know. I also did quite like Skylar as well, even though there was still some drama with her towards the end of the results as well. Um, but like again, that kind of style of trap, kind of hip hop, kind of, but it still sounded modern and it still sounded like fresh and like commercial. And I loved that. I think it was really, really interesting. Yeah, I think, you know, as a quality of songs, I mean, Ukraine just knows how to deliver. And like that was, it's something that just came through very, very clearly yet again in this selection, you know. Like going into it, I mean, the only one that I had downloaded onto my like playlist was Teresa Maria. But even then, like it was still a really enjoyable show. There wasn't a bad song. Like the song that appealed to me the least was Slavic English, but I could still appreciate it because obviously, like, you know, like, and also just like them starting to experiment with things, you know, like and being like confident enough to maybe send like a more humorous song, you know, like having that even reach the selection, I think is already like a it's showing that Ukraine is like, yes, it is still taking itself seriously, but then also at the same time, it's, you know, we can offer up different options, and I like that, you know. So I'm really happy with how Vidbir kind of came together. It was a fantastic show, and not to mention as well, you know, we got to see Jamala, we got to see Andriy Danilko of Serduchka, and then we did also have I don't know, again, the third guy who isn't a Eurovision person, but he was there too, and he seemed like he was his Sergey, I think his name was. Um, but yeah, we got to see Jamala and we got to see Verka. You know, they still know to cater to the audience, you know, about like the Eurovision people. Um, yeah, I'm really, really happy about it. And I guess also we should just say congratulations to Jamala for being pregnant for another time, welcoming another baby into the world. So thank you, you know, well done for that. And yeah, I guess like just as a final question then, I guess like is there anything that like Vidbeer can do next year, or you know, like how can they kind of improve on this going forward? Because it seems like they're just really just going from strength to strength here.
Like, it was a really strong show. It was really enjoyable to watch. Obviously, there was technical issues. I don't know whether they can have any way to iron it out for next year. I don't know whether they could introduce a televote of some sort or have a backup like I think Melody Festivalen has. Like it has the app voting, but the obviously Melody Festivalen, I think about 2 years ago, had a similar issue. And then that they have a televote, like in Melody Festivalen, they have a televote as a backup in case that happens. So I don't know whether having a televote as a backup would work. Obviously, there's issues in Ukraine where at the moment, like with the war and stuff, where it might not actually be possible to do that at the moment, but because of with phone lines, etc., etc. But I don't know. It's hard. Because the only thing that they could improve on, I don't know whether it's easy to improve on that with what's going on in Ukraine at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think the only thing that could really be done is just trying to iron out the kind of technical issues. Like obviously like it's understandable like with what happened, and of course, you know, we don't like think okay, like you've messed up with this like televote thing, therefore, you know, you need to completely scrap this entire national selection. That's not the case at all. um I think it just needs to have a contingency plan in place basically in order to try and just, you know, have something in the back in case something does go wrong. So maybe it's hard to kind of justify because obviously like, you know, dia is the kind of the public vote, you know, because everyone has the dia app on their phone because that's like it's a requirement for when you go into Ukraine if you're a Ukrainian citizen. But it's I understand why they wouldn't be having a televote because it could be susceptible to hacking and this kind of thing. So um I think the only real things is just like making like fine tuning and stuff like that, and just like having better plans in place for something like a technical glitch that's going to maybe disrupt the show. That would be the only way that we can kind of think about it. But otherwise, I think, like again, the show was fantastic. I will say it did go on a little bit, but not in the same way as previous Vidbirs have gone on. Like even though it was still like what 3 to 4 hours, it felt like the pacing was still quite good. So they are working on things like that. I think it's just the amount of stuff that they're trying to pack into this show, it's still quite a lot. So but that might just be me because I'm just an impatient person. But so yeah, just like one other final question, just as like we'll try to keep it brief. But like where would you say, how would you say that Teresa Maria will do now that we know that it's going to Malmo, and like where do you think it will finish?
It's hard to. I'm one of these people. I don't like making predictions until we have like at least 30 songs. So it's really really hard to say right now because obviously there's a bunch of internals that we know nothing about. Yeah, I want to say it'll definitely come top 10, likely top 5. But obviously, again, internals we just know nothing, hardly anything about them. So I'd
Yeah.
say out of anything in a national final, it's definitely probably one of the strongest songs. But obviously, with internals that we don't know much about, it's hard to make a judgment right now.
Mm. Yeah, you are right. I guess it is, we are about what midway through the selection process right now for most of the countries, which still feels crazy because we're recording this in February and it's still like we only really just have like a handful of songs. But I do think it is a contender for a good top 5 placing. We know that Ukraine can stage well. They've shown it time and time again. And with a powerful song with a modern twist and commerciality as well. Like I could still hear that played on radio stations, even if it's in another language. I still think it will still get a good lot of airplay. Um, and I think it has a chance to do quite well. Uh, I guess we will just have to wait and see what the rest of the sort of internal selections will bring. But for the meantime, I mean, look, this is my number one right now. Like I'm willing for this to win. So I need this to continue to be up there amongst the rankings for other people. But I know that, we're still just over like a month now from the end of the selection, like the national final season. So anything could still happen. But I'm just willing and I'm crossing my fingers and I'm just doing everything I possibly can to do that. So yeah, it's I'm intrigued. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it kind of plays out when we get to Malmo. But yeah, I mean, obviously with that, I mean that this brings us to the end of this little recap video. I mean, what do you guys think? Obviously you've watched the show if you're watching this. So like what do you make of Alyona and Teresa Maria and Jerry Heil, and like were they the right people to go? Do you think there should have been someone else who went? What did you make of the show? Was there anything that you would have changed? Obviously let us know what you think, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how things go. In the meantime, thank you so much to Jazzi for joining me on this lovely little journey. Just back to Ukraine, it's quite nice, and yeah, continue to follow us on all of our social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Threads, Tumblr, Blue Sky. You name it, we've got it. Like that's the only way that we can be on it. I'm no doubt once a new social media decides to pop up, we'll probably stick ourselves on there too. Um, but yeah, and then also that's all at that Euro site. Follow that Eurovision podcast as well at that Euro podcast. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for that too. And yeah, I can't wait to see how things are going to go. So, shall we say goodbye? Bye.